Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. My name's Rick Parkhill. I'm the director at Brand Storytelling, and I'm happy to be joined today by my friend Paolo Mottola, who heads up content for REI and has been there for what, about the last decade, Paolo?
Pretty close. I'm approaching that this next year. So I've been in role around content for about 6 years and some marketing before that, and a decade with REI now.
What a great run, and what a great slate of content you've been involved in for the past several years. We're here today to talk about your announcement, your recent announcement about the REI CoOp Studios. But by just way of reference, I'm going to go ahead and do a little screen share here and show the folks a few of the things that you've been doing recently. So here's one of my favorites is Dear Mother Nature, the documentary. We were excited to have Patagonia. And in fact, the last time we got together in person was Sundance 2020, and Patagonia was there to show the film and take questions. And in fact, I've got this great picture.
I was wondering. There you go. Yes, Patagonia dressed up as Sundance. That's the Sundance like outfit or representation. So amazing.
Patty was awesome. The film's terrific. It exposes the crisis, the plastic crisis of the global problem that we all face. If you haven't seen the film, it's on YouTube. Go check it out, and I guarantee you will enjoy it and you will learn a lot. Podcast. Ideas Worth Living, Wild Ideas Worth Living is a whole podcast series. Lots of great lessons here, lots of experts, tons of information. The Uncommon Path was the magazine that you launched, what, a couple of years ago?
Yep. 2018, I believe, early 2019. Yep.
So you abandoned the REI catalog and opted for an editorial publication, right?
That's right. So, I mean, REI will still send you some mail about some of our seasonal products, but we basically transitioned and are excited to revisit this. It's something we had to pause, like a lot of print publications, traditional media, during the pandemic, just because of cost issues. But excited to bring this back digitally this year. And this whole idea here is just, looking at that intersection of culture and outdoors, and engaging people in longer form journalism, which I think is a theme across a lot of our program.
Yeah. Full disclosure, I'm one of the 20 million REI co-op members. But my idea of a great shopping experience is a couple hours in an REI store.
Same thing. Same here. Yeah. So with 20 million members, we've got a pretty big established audience to reach with this kind of content. And of course, a lot of people coming into our stores. We've got about 160 plus stores in almost 40 states.
Yeah, it's amazing footprint. So The Dark Divide, another what a beautiful film. I had the pleasure of screening it this summer for our BSN community. David Cross and Deborah Messing. David Cross' performance in this film is amazing.
Yes.
The photography, the videography in this is beautiful. Go stream this film now. It's just a shame that it didn't make a theatrical release due to the pandemic. But man, this is a great film, and it's a scripted narrative that REI got behind.
That's right. Yeah. Thanks for the kind words there. I think this is, like any film coming out, not unique to brands. It was just a tough time to release a film, but a film we still wanted to get out and really thought was an important message for people to see about the restorative nature of the outdoors. And so when a lot of people were having, hard time just getting through the pandemic, we just thought this was still an important film to remind people that they can just get outside, get some relief. And we did see really, really good reception, critical reception, and really good media reception and just interest in this, despite, you're right, missing out on the theater experience that we were hoping for when we first got on board with this project.
Yeah, I'd like to. I watched it on the biggest screen I have at home, but boy, this film on the big screen would be beautiful. I'd like to do that sometime.
Yeah.
Well, Paulo, so I'm going to stop the share here, but So, question here is, I've read the news about the launch of the co-op studios, and my question for you is like, what's different? I mean, you've been producing all of this content for the last several years. It seems like you've been acting like a studio to date. So, tell us about what's the vision for the co-op studio, and what's it mean, and what's the change?
Yeah, the question is really fair. This for us is really an evolution and a formalization of, to your point, what we've been doing for the last 3 to 5 years in a concerted way. And, when I think about where we started with some of our first short films, our first podcast coming online in Wild Ideas Worth Living, with a few more, coming online now. I think we just had to recognize, hey, that we need to do a better job expressing that this is a studio's arm, and this is really a service that customers and audiences in the industry can expect from REI. So, I think like a lot of brands, we started in a place where it's like, hey, let's try this program and that project. But also those were fragmented in a sense, right? Like no one could really piece together. There wasn't an umbrella that captured what all this meant. And I think to your point, when you think about a traditional studio, lots of different projects, lots of different great films that come online, but there's that banner, there's that expression, there's a sub brand that supports, when I think about Neon or A24 or Fox Searchlight, like those brands mean something to audiences, they mean something to the industry. We want REI CoOp Studios to mean the same thing to those audiences and industry in the future. And I think it just, to your point, kind of coalesces what we've been doing, but it's going to be that new platform that we launch new projects from, with a mark around REI CoOp Studios and an expectation of what that means in terms of the kinds of themes and stories that people see from us.
So, I guess that what this does is reinforce your commitment to content, for one thing, and brand it as a co-op studios. I get that. But how does a retailer, or any company for that matter, go about creating a blueprint for a studio? What's the process?
Yeah, I think first off, any brand originating a studio, or just like a studio coming online for traditional entertainment purposes and business, you got to figure out what your place is in the world, and I think we took a hard look and said, okay, we think we're adding value, we know we're entertaining our customers around these stories, but we see a gap in who is advocating for a certain type of story to be told, right? And for us, our reason for being is we need to get behind stories that reflect underrepresented communities, underrepresented storytellers, a depiction of the outdoors that isn't always people conquering mountains. Those are really inspiring. They've been inspiring for decades. There are fewer projects and stories around the outdoors that are about urban settings, city parks, backyards, still places where you can have a transformative outdoor experience, have a life-changing experience, get those health and wellness benefits and empathize with the character you see doing it. But not everything has to be far flung. And there's gonna be a lot of great content that we'll support, and we expect to continue to see from the industries at large that produce those stories. We just feel like we've got, something to solve for there. So that reason for being, that purpose is critical. And then, more in the economics and the business of it, it's a P&L question. Like, do you really see, and we really see a business opportunity here where we can have a thriving program, that really pays for itself, isn't just on the back of a marketing engine or another way to go to market, but really, stories that we can invest in, see a return on, build an audience, and build that flywheel that successful studios do.
So, one thing is, your focus on diversity and inclusion, is seems like a real commitment. What was the film I saw recently about I forget the title, the mountain bike tour with the woman director who'd never been on a mountain bike before?
Yes, I think you're talking about maybe pedal through. Yeah, we've got a few short docs that we've been producing as of late, and really consistently addressing both race equity and gender equity, as well as the gender spectrum. And in those, we're showing and telling real stories, and we think that those are a part of our mix and will continue to be. And I think about the studios at large, and a podcast coming online, like the one that will be online here in September, called Hello Nature. That's about a Pakistani American woman going to our national parks and really observing and questioning if our public lands are really for all, like really experienced by the public the way that they're intended to for every American citizen. So, in a number of formats, long form, short form, we're going to continue to pick at this idea of what is an outdoor experience for Americans, and not just Americans that have been traditionally represented, people who look like you and me, but everybody who's spending time out there. And then how are they spending time out there? Like what aspects of their cultural traditions, are they bringing into their outdoor experience that is, again, underrepresented in media traditionally. And at large, we're just going to find the format that works for the story and works for the audience and keep trying at it.
Yeah, I think there's so many great stories about, the every person's outdoor adventure, and not just the people that climb Everest and, do these crazy things, but,
Right.
What you did in your 2 weeks off, your family trip, the bicycle trip that somebody took. There's all kinds of great stories, and including the diversity element of this is really admirable, and I think it's something that to encourage people of all types and all walks of life to get out and enjoy the outdoors. Let's get back to the P&L part of this. What your expectations are. I mean, these are tough questions to ask you about your P&L, but what can you tell us about that? Are all these productions, or some of the productions are looking to make money? Studios are kind of gamblers, aren't they?
Yep.
They're looking for a few home runs and some solid doubles, and
Yeah.
and know that there's going to be some that just don't produce income either. So that's the sort of the studio game. Is that how you're approaching this?
In general, yeah. We are generally hedging our bets on different projects and different formats and trying to determine how they create a return for us. And we're going to measure those in a few different ways. And I think what's cool about the brand storytelling community and brands going into this is there is a question of how your entertainment projects investments have a halo effect on your business, right? And your general business, your core business. So we certainly are going to assess how it is that these projects help people become more aware of REI, how they may spend more time outside after they're consuming our content in our channels, right? Which gets to our larger mission. And on the P&L side, we're going to look at, to your point, and in a kind of traditional studio way, which projects are really creating a return. That return, by the way, could be by way of a distribution deal in that traditional studio model. Some of our content is also underwritten by advertisers. So there's that direct return in a more of a media model, thinking about journalism and publishing in that respect, than a distribution deal, more akin to film. So we're looking at several different revenue sources depending on the format, but we are looking at revenue as an outcome of these investments, in addition to those brand metrics that we care about.
How about partnerships, Paolo? Well, would you look at a partnership as a equity investor in a project? Maybe with some of your gear manufacturers, the people that sell product in your stores that
Absolutely.
you carry.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, like that. That's a beautiful thing of working at REI. We're a co-op, right? We are built on partnerships. We're our retail function. We've got over 1,000 brands we carry in our stores. So that is just in our DNA. In terms of entertainment projects, yes. I think a way that all brands can really, diversify their risk is going to be by sharing that risk naturally. And in a lot of our projects and entertainment projects, we're not looking to fully fund them. We're looking for partnerships. Those could be traditional financiers and other studios. Those could be other brands, right? And across the board, all these different partners have their own agendas, value systems. We want that compatibility. But where that compatibility is there and partners want to bring dollars to the table and equity positions, we think that's the most efficient way for all of us to get projects done and get a lot more projects done, because again, we're all diversifying our investments and can therefore get behind more projects.
Okay, so all you brands watching this right now, call Paolo. There's got to be a lot of interest out there with the sort of the slate that you're envisioning. And the feature films that you might be coming out with that are going to be symbiotic with other brands. Do you have any experience with that to date? Have you partnered with any other brands on a production?
So we have, there's been a couple that we've done in the short space with a couple brands that we carry, and I think about Keen and Arc'teryx and some really wonderful brands that we have retail partnerships with and have created those content or marketing partnerships with. We also have scenarios where, for example, Ford is sponsoring Wild Ideas Worth Living, our podcast this season. We've got, other brands that come online and sponsor some of the mid-roll and pre-roll and, are just interested in reaching our audience because we have a significant outdoor audience to reach. So partnerships are going to happen different ways, like a traditional studio. And sometimes that'll be equity and sometimes that'll be underwriting. And we are open to both. What I'd solicit to all the brands interested in partnering with REI or just considering, brand-to-brand partnerships, as well as like foundation partnerships, is that values piece. And for us, it's going to be about sustainability and climate change. It's going to be about equity and inclusion in an outdoor context, and it's going to be about protecting the outdoors. And anyone who has some of those value systems in common, we've got a great starting point. And actually, I do want to note that foundations play a huge role here, especially around documentaries and that format of entertainment. And brands should be looking across the board in terms of business models, not limited to B2C. So there's just a lot, or for profit. So there's just a lot of different ways to structure these programs.
Are any projects in the works right now in production that you're excited about that you'd like to talk about?
There are a few that we're pretty excited about. A continuing digital series called Miranda in the Wild. You got to check it out. It's one of our longtime store employees who happens to be amazing on camera, talent, and has this awesome community. That is on our YouTube channel. We also have a new show coming online with James Beard award-winning chef Maria Hines, who's looking at the intersection of food and outdoor activity and awesome. Natural spaces for foraging and more natural ways and organic ways of producing food. So those are coming online. We've got, like I said, that great podcast with Misha Youssef, who's executive producer of the Michelle Obama podcast and the Born in the USA Obama and Bruce Springsteen podcast. She's a host. She's that Pakistani American woman I was speaking to who's exploring our national parks. That's coming online in podcast. In films, we've got a couple, I can't announce quite yet, but 2 feature-length projects that you'll see come online in the next 12 to 18 months, depending on some of those distribution dynamics. But one feature-length documentary, another fiction scripted film as well. So just excited to start to speak about those as soon as we can make those distribution deals happen. That's the frustrating part of being a studio, right? Is lots in the can, lots on the slate, but only so much we can talk about all at once. And in between, some fun shorts and some fun podcasts coming out too.
Well, very exciting. Perhaps there's a film that coincides with the dates around January 20th to 30th when we will be back at
January is a good target for us. January is a good target for us for a couple of reasons. So we're hoping to get something online there.
We're going to be back at Sundance with the Brand Storytelling Showcase in January, and hopefully we'll be showing one or more of your films. So Paolo, thanks so much for the time. Best of luck with this. We're all going to be keenly watching what comes next. So awesome. Thanks so much,
Rick. Thanks for everything that you do, and hello to all my brand storytelling community. Look forward to seeing you in person next year.
All right. Thanks, Paolo.
Thank you.
Take care, bud.